Game begin.
All right.
My way would be, I don't know, probably some stone rains and a wildfire or two. You know, a couple fire diamonds or something.
Fire diamonds. I was thinking, what about like the Jamie Park version? I was thinking about this a lot earlier today. I was just like, what about pup rain? Like rock and roll, Jackal Pup, Mog Fanatic, Ancient Tomb out, a stone rain, get in some pillage there, maybe some avalanche riders for beatdown, and then like 4 Wasteland, 4 Rishodon Port. Probably can't afford Fire Blast in this deck rock and roll, though. What do you think?
I like it. I thought about that deck when I started playing, and I asked Mano because he's a sped. I'm like,
yeah,
hey, he's a sped. Oh, hey, you got a sweet shirt on there.
I do. I wore this for this recording sesh. The people at home can't see, but we're matching.
I got old school.
We are matching. So what's the title of this episode? We invite BK over for Mike to rant about some idiot on the internet. Is that's what we're gonna do?
Yeah. We're gonna be ranting about idiots on the internet. Specifically one who said that there are no good players in the Northeast. Which I don't know how you feel. How do you feel about that? I kind of agree with them. You all were a little slow, really catching on to strategies like goblins and elves.
Well, okay. So here's what I think. I thought about this a lot. If he's trash talking, all good.
Yeah.
I mean, I love trash talk, right? If he's shit posting, trash talk good, shit posting not good.
Where's the line between trash talk and shit post?
I think any kind of negative. I'm against any kind of negativity. Actually, I'm also super against anything that diminishes other people's accomplishments. Like I'm really actively against anything that is like, they top 8'd, but that doesn't count for whatever reason. Like the best example I can think of is when Meebo made top 8 of like one of those online pro tours during the pandemic. And, that was a big deal for her, right? For them and for Magic. And people are like, that's a non-canonical pro tour. Shut up. It's the only pro tour you could play during this time period. And it's an amazing achievement and people don't even talk about it. And, that's like, it was a big deal. Like, so that would be super high on my list of like something like that. You can't.
That was the literal worst.
That was a great. That is like the best example of like, I'm going to put an asterisk on this. Okay, you weren't in that top 8, jackass, right? Like, I think unless you're Nathan Stoyer, you don't get to say anything. So I'm against anything like that. But generally speaking, I just love trash talking at the table. So Lanny pointed out to me that I do. Like that's just how I play, right? You and I come from the same place. And
I've done a lot of work to get the trash talk out of my vocabulary because people just don't respond to it well anymore.
They love it.
And some do, some don't.
So I was thinking about this. I knew we were going to record tonight, and Hog loved you like from the day that he met you, right, at LobsterCon 2002, because he's just like, you're the first person he ever met who just like shit talks Mike. That was his just like, BK shit talks you. And I'm like, he's like one of my best friends. I mean, like, I don't take it bad.
Of course why
he's just like, oh man, he buried you. And I'm like, no, we were having a conversation over a drink. Like, that's just how it is, So I think so I love that. And so like, I didn't realize I was doing it a lot because it's just how I play. And I didn't realize it until like I was in like the top 4 of like the day 2 LobsterCon tournament this past year, the one where I lost to David Tao in the finals. And my opponent just like, you've just been trash talking people all day, but I know what you're doing and you're not going to get me. I'm like, I am. And I did. But
the people who think you're doing it to get under their skin
I'm doing it because
funny.
It's fun, right?
Like, just doing it because it's more fun to like to ramp up what's going well, and needle a little when it's not going well for I try to talk myself too.
Yeah, so like Lanny was just like, I guess he had never seen me before. I don't know. We met at tournaments, he's just like, just because I was just invoking the dealer every round. I'm like, the dealer loved Jared. I mean, the dealer loved Jared this past weekend, apparently, but we played against each other. I think, I don't know, the top 8 or to make top 8 of that tournament. Jared, thank God they don't let him play in the main event of LobsterCon. I've never seen him not get 4 goblins off of a goblin ringleader. Every time it's 4 goblins.
I have Nicolas Cage on the stream.
I see Nicolas Cage. Okay. So we've got matching Misty Mountain shirts. Oh, so anyway, just some context, Lanny's like in Australia or something. He still has to edit it. I don't know where he is working.
He is? Oh,
no, I don't know.
You have no idea where he went?
He was at the same tournament I was at 2 days ago. He's been traveling. He was in Vegas for work last week. And we're going to have a stretch of like 3 weeks where he can't record. So, we just had a bunch of weeks where we didn't record and a bunch of stuff's gone by. But usually we have like an excuse. Like you could just see on social media or whatever, like all the people who were all hanging out at my house or something. And we're just like, oh, we'd rather hang out than record a podcast.
Right.
Roman came and like literally Roman organized like this meetup with like Rebel and David Tao and Lanny, and it was like Roman's theoretical like in order to stay at my house he had to like record multiple episodes of Ancestral Recall. That was like what he was supposed to pay the world, not pay me, really. You know how many episodes of Ancestral Recall we recorded? I'll give you a hint, it was 0. But
was it 0?
It was 0, but we played a lot of Magic. Played Standard. We mostly played Premodern. But anyway, so
are you a standard grinder now?
I'm playing Standard on Thursday, and I'm playing the Standard art. I paid for the Standard RCQ already for this weekend. Are you doing RCQs at Misty? Standard RCQs?
Yeah, we have one in February. I think we're doing it like the 2nd or 3rd weekend of February.
How much do you charge? Can I ask?
We're doing 30 this time, but we're serving lunch.
Okay, I paid 50 and I could only register on Spice Rack. So I was at the store last week and I'm like, can I pay it to go to this RCQ? They're like, no, you register. I've never heard of 50. That's bazonkers to me for a standard one.
Yeah, price is going up, I guess.
And only on Spice
Rack. That
rent. So
what's Spice Rack? I've never used that before.
Spice Rack is
a tournament. A tournament or organizer program or something.
It's a website. It's called spicerack.gg. It tells you where the RCQs are, amongst other things. This guy Evan, who used to play in this area, who I think moved to Canada. He's like called Evan Toronto, or maybe he's in some other Canadian city right now. But he was a local in this area. I played him in the RCQs around here. He's a nice guy, but he started Spice Rack. He's just like full time doing Spice. This isn't a Spice Rack podcast. I was just wondering because I've never paid 50 to play in an RCQ before. Is
it good? Should I be using Spice Rack? No, I feel like I'm getting a hot store owning tip.
I mean, first of all, they're getting 50 instead of. I think like 25, 30. That's like reasonable. I played in a lot of RCQs last season, and I think like if you added them all together, I paid more than 50, but I played in more than 2. But also it attracts people from other locations, right? So it's like one of the features is it tells you which RCQs are drivable for a particular format on a particular date from a zip code that you put in. So like if it's like within 93 miles or whatever, they'll send people to Misty.
Oh, so it's more of a tournament finding thing, or do people run their events in there too?
No, I am not technologically savvy about this. I use it just to find where the tournaments are. I mean, weird stuff happens. For example, right? Like Rebel told me that she was playing in an RCQ, and Spice Rack told me to play in this RCQ in Hoboken, and I didn't realize there was like an RCQ that was super close. Like it was like very close to me, like 10 minutes away, which is at Rebel's LGS, right? But the one that I signed up for and paid for is technically in like the zone, and I could have gotten there, right? Would have been like an hour on the train, right? But it just chose that one. It wasn't wrong. It was within the range of the zip code that I put in. It just happened to choose that one instead of the one that was very, very close. So I ate the registration. I was just like, look, my best case scenario is I save like 3 hours of my life because it's like really, it's kind of far away. I had to take multiple trains there and back again. Yeah. I just go to this one super close, and Lanny and Rebel grown to this one. So I'd rather hang out that one. All right. So, so I ate.
But that one's $50, or is this?
No. I for that one, that was like last season. That way I paid like $5 holding fee or something. It wasn't a big deal. But but this one I paid for $50. I already paid. So there's a spot for me, and I don't know, promo.
Is it like 4 slots or something, or
it's 1 slot?
It's not even a 2.
No, it's a 1.
Well, next season we'll really see what happens, because then every store can do 3 of them next season.
Well,
did you hear about that?
I did hear about that, but I feel like there's an interesting push pull. First of all, there's plenty of demand. I mean, Sonny and Kaplan are like filling $1,000 tournaments that they're randomly having at like, so Sonny like is a partner in this brewery, and Kaplan just has he's just buddies with this guy who runs a volleyball court, and they can fill $1,000 tournaments in New York City to play Premodern. And the only reason they did it was because Star City was just like, at SCG Con, there's going to be Premodern 1K. And they're like, why should we go to another state? Like, all of us want to play 1Ks, right? So we could just do this. We have facilities, right? So there's enough demand to fill a Premodern 1K in New York City more than once a month. And we run maybe 3 we used to only have 1 meetup a month, not counting Tau House meetups, right? So like, if you're, just in the Tau House circle or my house, you get to, you play when we feel like playing, but like, and I literally moved down the street from David so that we could just play Premodern. That is literally a true story.
You moved down the street from David on purpose?
Yes.
You just moved?
I moved like a year ago.
Oh,
I still live in New York City. I just moved to near where David lives.
I thought you lived in Brooklyn.
I do live in Brooklyn.
Still New York City. I don't know. Yeah, that's
Brooklyn counts as New York City. Yes, that's. Oh. But I moved. I was literally like, I was like going to his house. I'm like, I love this neighborhood. This is cool. And then so when I had to move, I was just like, oh, I'm going to move like 10 minutes walk to David's, and a bunch of us live near each other and play Premodern or whatever. So, but like even beyond that, there was like 1 official Sacred Torch meetup per month, and now there's 2, arguably 3, because we also have the brewery meetups and the volleyball meetups. So, not counting the $1,000 tournaments, there's plenty of demand for people who just want to play the formats.
So, how many Premodern events do you play a month now? What's the circuit? It's like 2 Sacred Torches.
This month I'll play. Oh, it depends how.
Meetup.
There's not a weekly meetup. There's like maybe a bi-weekly meetup. There'll be a bi-weekly meetup and then $1,000 tournament this month. Next month, there'll be $2,000 tournaments of 2 or 3 meetups. So maybe 5 next month. Maybe 3 this month. It depends. Like they just like, for example, I thought I won the last meetup of 2023, and then they just added a meetup on the 29th of December that I obviously had to play in and not win. So they just add a meetup. So Brooklyn Strategist, which is where I'm playing in the RCQ this Saturday, just also down the street from me, which is amazing. That's like literally 10 minutes walk from my house. They are one of the 2 stores that is super active in supporting the Premodern scene. So there's a store in Queens that's semi-active in supporting Premodern, but there's like one that's really central in the middle of Manhattan called Bifrost Games. They have at least 1 meetup a month. It's awesome. They just clear the space out for us, and then Brooklyn Strategist does it once or twice a month, also usually on a weekday. And then and we get. There was only 11 people on the one last Thursday, but we're coming off the holiday, right? So so we get 32 some nights. It's
that's sweet.
There's just demand. It's crazy, right? And the other thing is 30,
like you got 32 on a night,
just on a weeknight.
I think it's bigger than my last Misty tournament.
So, so you saw like I talked to Phil and Wynn about it. Like I'm just gonna everybody's making fun of me, right? So I was just like, I'm just going to submit our top fours to TC Decks because Phil Nguyen always publishes our top fours, right? So he's kind of the boss of Sacred Torch. And the thing is, like, you know, we have a podcast, me and Lanny, and we talk about playing Premodern all the time. And like our thought process is like the rest of the Premodern community must not think we ever play. We play a lot, right? And we play organized events. So it's like, all right, I will be the one to submit the deck list to TC Decks. Everyone's like making fun of it. They're like, Mike, you can't even finish your like YouTube video that Rebel made for you, right? Like you can't even like, you know, tie your own shoes or whatever. And I'm like, you think I can't submit a thing that's going to show that I won another event this week? I can do it. So well, the funny thing
I'm looking at the most recent Order of the Sacred Torch meetup, you're in third place. Yeah.
I lost to Cam Fulton, who has my number, except I got him in the top 8 this past weekend. Cam Fulton, man.
You turned a corner.
No, I beat Cam in the top 8 of the Bearded Dragon 1K like 2 months ago or a month ago, and I beat him in the top 8 of this one. I started off 0-2 in both events. So unless it's a 1K and I start off 0-2, then I'm allowed to beat Cam in the top 8, which is super improbable. What kind of idiot who goes 0-2 even makes the top 8? Like you have to thread some kind of magic needle to do it. Yeah, but I happened to play against Mike Harris in the first round. It's obviously going to top 8. Played against Cam in the second round. He was first seed. I mean, they just rode, and I just squeaked in 8th place. Right, my opponent's win percentage was 25% better than the next guy. That's unreal, right? Like, so I just squeaked in. It, you know. We got some last minute COVID cancellations. If that hadn't happened, there wouldn't even been like an opportunity for an X2 to make it. But you know, it was cool. I was obviously elated this past weekend. But they were all making fun of me because Kaplan was like, oh, maybe we don't even have to take your deck list, Mike. You're not going to make top 8. Doesn't matter. Like, I got them all.
You did. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. I love Premodern. I love playing Magic right now. Yeah, I've been in Magic for so long, you know, like for a big chunk of my life, it's just like a lot of the money I made to my family was just writing Magic articles. But I love playing Magic right now more than I ever loved playing Magic in any other time in my life.
Yeah. So I'm looking at TC and none of these 3 events are on here yet. Do we have deck lists from anywhere?
You know who has it? MTG Top 8 has both the Order of the Sacred Torch one and also the $1,000 tournament are both up there. I am Mike Flores in one of them and Michael Flores in one of them, and that's also on TC Decks. I'm Mike Flores in some and Michael Flores in some, so we're gonna have to iron that one out. But
MTG Top 8?
MTGtop8.com.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
Cap Premodern on the top banner.
Yep. Yeah, I see it.
So there's a bunch that have like a new sticker next to them. For some reason, the one that Jared won. Oh, that's not. I guess it's not new. Oh, it's there. Sorry. Is this new? So Challenge Long Island City. That's the one I won on Saturday. And then Order the Sacred Torch monthly meetup, or whatever, Manhattan. That was the one from last Thursday. So I'll probably write something and put it in non-idiots about that one because I put my red deck win in Cool Stuff Inc. this week.
Yeah, I read that.
Yes, you wanted to be prepared for this podcast.
Yes, I did. I didn't want to be caught unawares by the recent victories of Michael J. Flores.
Yeah, I am so high on this girl. I was on the treadmill today, and I was just like, I think that if we played Pariah, it would be faster than Worship, but that we should have it main deck. That was a thought in my head. I'm like, we could get Pariah down fast enough to beat Fluctuator. So the thing that I'd be worried about is if they, you know, maybe you don't know to keep a Meddling Mage hand or something, but you could Pariah anything and it would, or, you know, if you have a Mother of Runes, right? Like that would be appropriate. Yeah. So I think Pariah is faster than Worship, but then there's some matchups just, you know, Pariah is just the same as Worship. You know, against red deck, you just slam it on the Silver Knight. But I mean, I'm so high on this BK. Like, I think we could just sideboard to beat everything. I think we would crush 12-12. Did you crush 12-12? 12-12 wasn't popular at LobsterCon then, was it?
I crushed Roland Chang at the event.
Yeah, like
12-12.
If you're just like meddling mage,
I think I should have beat that Flynn Espel guy too.
Yeah. Your deck seems good against that deck.
Yeah, I think it is.
Did he beat you twice?
No, he just.
Oh no, you lost to the Tinker Fling deck.
Yeah, yeah, he got me. He wouldn't have got me if I was a nice guy. I sealed his dreadnought, and I was like, he was like, oh yeah, and I'm like, well, you have the stifle. He's like, oh yeah, okay.
Come on, man. Okay, so listen, that deck has.
I don't care.
4 meddling mage, 4 plow main deck, and then you also have seals. Then after boards, we can have like red blast and annuls. That seems like a buy, like straight up a buy. And then what other
the graveyard side's a little rougher, I think, but
yeah, but you still have plow. But I think like that deck's also great against elves, right? Like fire ice for their elves, seal for their survival. Like, do you have some sort of
fine against elves? I mean, I think elves is probably pretty. I'm probably a little disadvantaged on elves, I would say, with that deck. I haven't played this deck in a long time, but
I am so into it.
That deck always just kind of found a way because it was like it would beat decks that didn't look like it would beat because it was like so efficient. You know, all your cards are like pretty much, you know.
Yeah, but like imagine you've got like, I don't know, Pariah, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just like
I think Pariah is really interesting.
Just like Pariah my whatever, and then they're like attack with everything. All right, it's proc green, right? Like, what do you got? Like I literally made it proc green.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Mother of Runes Pariah is pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad.
Like I'm into starting Pariah.
I think Sabo's Web is pretty great in that deck too.
I think Sabo's Web might be, and I mean like.
I did play 2 on my board at LobsterCon.
So I love
one maybe.
I love Francisco Paluchek. Like he's like my brother, right? I mean, I stayed with him at LobsterCon this year. He's a good person. Fran is a good person. He's like an amazingly strong moral core, and he has a great attitude towards life. And I'm his biggest fan from a content creation standpoint. I just wish he made more videos. I just don't like Oath Peluche as much as he does. Right? Like,
yeah, me neither.
That's my point of contention with Fran. I don't like Oath Peluche ... as much as he does. I mean, like he likes it a lot, right? That's my whole point of contention.
I'm not a fan of the deck.
I'm not saying I don't like it at all.
He's gonna light you up.
I don't like it as much as he does.
Do you want my hot take?
No, yes. Incinerate me.
I think the Mono Green is better than Oath Peluche.
Yeah, Mono Green won your big event though. But
it's also it just free wins more, right?
So this is the most hilarious thing, right? So Tom Martell, good friend of mine and a Pro Tour champion, Tom Martell, was visiting New York City over the holidays. He's just staying at John's for like weeks or something. I don't remember, like for no reason. I don't know. Like he was just in New York. What does he do? Of course, he hits me up. He's just like, can I get in one of these Premodern meetups you're always posting about? I'm like, of course you can. Right. So, so I'm like, what do you want to play? I can make any deck. Right. So it's just like, give me something with Swords to Plowshares. Right. And I'm like, okay, I just top $4 to $1,000 from him with this. I shipped him the Oath Peluche deck. He's just like, this will work. Right. So I win round 1. Tom wins round 1. I'm Goblins. He's Oath Peluche. He beats me 2-1. And I think Fran would have been like, well, Oath Peluche is good against Goblins. I think you had to be Pro Tour champion level to win this. Like Tom, literally just put the blinders on. He's just like, I am a mono Exalted Angel beatdown deck, and I'm going to play like if you have it, I'm dead. Right. And it was like, it's kind of beautiful. Like you'd appreciate it. It's like a poker player way of playing it, right?
Make you have it.
Yeah, made me, and I didn't have it. And he's just like, he looks at the board. He's just like, if you have any 1-mana goblin, I'm dead here, right? I only had a 2-mana goblin, and you know what I mean? Like I needed to thread the needle and just get in for lethal, because he was just he played all 4 Exalted Angels in game 3, right? And he just morphed some, didn't morph some, held some back. and then just slam me to death like in a pure race. He's like, 1 mana goblin, I'm dead. And I'm like, no, 1 mana goblin. So we're going. So he's just like, this deck is fantastic, right? And I'm like, I think it's okay, Tom. I mean, you did beat me, but it's not fantastic. He's like, what are its bad matchups? And I'm like, well, you can't beat the mono green version. And he's just like, what's the mono green version? And I'm like, it's the same deck, but instead of Cataclysm, they have like and Swords of Plowshares. They have Thermokarst and Winter's Grasp. Like, it's basically that's basically it. He's just like, you're crazy, right? So obviously, so up against SWB in the finals playing mono green, gets raffle stomped in game 1. He's just like, he's like, Oath is not symmetrical in this matchup. I'm like, no, sometimes you get a flaccid 4/5 and they always get a Terravore. And it's always huge. And he's just like, I super underestimated their ability to make me have no white mana in a game where like all of my cards are white. Because he's just like, all the cards he was, Swords of Plowshares, Exalted Angel, Cataclysm. You're just like, I'm going to let you have all of your forests, all of your colorless. I'm just going to Thermokarst and Rishadan Port and Wasteland your white. And I'm going to attack you with Treetop Village and Mishra's Factory. And they have mulch, right? And like Green-White doesn't have mulch. So they actually have a card advantage engine. He's just like, this mirror is not, it's not symmetrical at all. And he's just like, I totally did not understand how bad this was. I'm like, it's a bad matchup, mono green.
I don't know. I don't get it.
What do you mean?
I don't get the deck.
They always get Terravore, and sometimes you get Exalted Angel, and all the Exalted Angel's too small to fight Terravore.
Oh, I get that. No, I get why mono green crushes white green. That makes perfect sense to me. I'm like looking at this green white list right now, and I'm like, I just don't totally get it, because you're all 1-for-1, right? So you're just hoping your Oath does it. I feel like
it just reminds me of this deck that I made with Andre Coimbra like years ago. We were on a team called the Just Us League. Oh no, the Just Us Society. Is that pretty cool? Just Us Society.
Just Us, yeah.
Yeah. So
which member were you, the Flash, or were you Green Lantern?
I don't know. I was Mike Flores.
Alan Scott.
And he was world champion Andre Coimbra. So he made a deck like very reminiscent to me of Oath Pollution, which is like, it's got powerful cards, but there's like the card advantage version of the deck. And then he was just playing the deck where he was just like, I'm just going to slam all these cards down and hope I beat you before you recover. Right. Like, he's like, he's devastating dreams without life from the loam. Right. That's, but I'm just going to get you big. That's what Oath Pollution is to me. And like, there's like an axis where you're like, okay, I could be Landy Hoth. And so I was saying to Fran, I'm like, anytime that you want to play Oath Pollution, why don't I just play Landy Hoth? Especially Rich just won the monthly and beat Oath Pollution in the finals, right? And he's just like, there's a really good reason that you don't do that. And he's like, why? Because you have a timer. And I'm like, oh, that's a non-zero reason. He's just like, if you're going to play the monthly, right, or you're going to play one of these tournaments with no time limits, by all means, Zer's weirding your opponent 2 life at a time, but like Oath Pollution wins in 2 swings. Landy Hoth has to all this.
It has to wail with manlands. Manland wailing.
I went 2-2 in the meetup that I played with Landy Hoth, which is by far the worst finish I had in the meetup this year. I got
a complicated deck, Mike.
One of my matches was against Cam Fulton, who always beats me, and then I lost to Elves. Even Rich lost to Elves at LobsterCon 2022. This call is going to end in 10 minutes, so when it ends, I'll just give you another link, and then we'll record it again.
Okay, that works.
Anyway,
dude, you guys are paying for Zoom.
I am so excited to be talking to you. I don't think we've ever done a podcast before.
We've never done this.
Any podcast. Crazy? How long have I known you? 1997, I want to say 1998 at least.
97 or 98.
My first memory of you
was Oath of Druids was around, so that'd be 97.
My first memory of you was Origins, whatever year, when I ran the Gauntlet, and you were the sole victor of the Gauntlet with your Stompy deck.
Yeah.
That was the best Magic tournament I'd ever been to until LobsterCon 2022, which is weird because I didn't do well in any event in that tournament. I mean, I virtual top 8'd the next year, right? But 98, I mean, we just had so much fun. And they would never let you run the gauntlet now.
Yeah, I mean, I see what's very similar though. Every time you have a really good tournament, I'm there, right?
I mean, yeah, you're one of my best friends in Magic. I mean, I was thinking about this. I was just like, oh, what are my Pro Tour accomplishments? My first top 16 I ever had was with you, right? I have had other money finishes, but not a lot. I don't know how many top 16s I
had. You moneyed? I thought
I'd never moneyed a Pro Tour before that one.
I thought it was that I had made you and Schuler money a Pro Tour for your first time.
I think that was my first money.
But I think it might have also been the first time I moneyed a Pro Tour. So
yeah. So what was that, 2001? So I'd been playing in the Pro Tour for 5 years at that point. I think I had never moneyed. So
we were greater than the sum of our parts.
Well, I mean, the one round I hate drafted you and Schuler.
What's that?
The round after the worst ruling in the history of the Pro Tour. My deck was really good, and then Schuler was just like, "You should have given." I don't remember. Never mind. We finished in the top 16. It was great. We were like 11th. But
even though we got cheated, we still
I've had other money finishes, but not so many money. I mean, I've far more than 50%. I have not had money finishes, and I think that was my first money finish and my first. I must have had other top 16s, but it was my first top 16 at least. But anyway, yeah. So I was just like, well, anything that I've ever done that's good, I just really was just riding on BK's coattails. That's the thing. I mean, I just played Premodern. I was like, I top 3'd or whatever LobsterCon last year. You had to explain to me how all the replenish parts worked the night before. That was a thing.
Yeah, and then the next day you had a deck. You built the deck to the top 8 with.
So that was such a great tournament.
I feel like I have a weird superpower with meeting people before a tournament, talking to them, saying, "Oh, I think you're really going to do really well," and then like they crush it. Like that happened this last weekend with Adam Jansen. It always happens with Adam Jansen though. If I meat up with Adam Jansen before a tournament, he always like crushes it.
So I saw his name, so I recognize Adam Jansen's name. I used to own like the physical magazine, the sideboard, and I remembered. I think he was top 8 of Junior Pro Tour, the first Pro Tour I ever played, like Dallas '96. I want to say.
Yeah, Dallas Juniors.
Yeah,
which had like back when the Junior Pro Tour was harder than the regular Pro Tour.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the names in that top 8, it's just like Justin Schneider won. Patrick Chapin's first top 8 was that one. I think Zvi Moshowitz was top 8 the next juniors, right? Like John Finkel, I think Dallas was his first non-junior Pro Tour. I mean, I'm sure he would have just won the juniors. He wanted to play in the senior division. But probably because it was softer, like you said. They let people like me play in the senior division.
Exactly.
Dead money. Forget a dead guy ale. Dead money, Mike.
What did you play at that one?
I played the same deck as Worth Walpert, who was top 16, and Chris Pakula, who was top 4. So I worked with. So Worth was not an official dead guy yet, but he was like working with Pakula loosely, and then Worth was my roommate. So we worked together. Like he came down to test with me at Penn. So we played the same deck. All the 3 of us.
Gold Necro, right?
Well, yeah. And then like all slightly different. Like none of us had figured out Rocky Tar Pit. Was Pakula said we should have had Rocky Tar Pit. But I had Consult, and they didn't have Consult. And Pakula told me it was wrong. My first Pro Tour win was against Aaron Muranaka, and I consulted for the 1 Fireball to beat him. It was gas. Nice. So it felt good then. And Aaron Muranaka was coming off consecutive Pro Tour top 4s or something. He's a freaking monster. And, I love Aaron Muranaka. He's my friend to this day. But that was my first win on the Pro Tour. But yeah, I mean, the same deck. Chris was top 4. Yeah. Worth was top 16. I was 134th. So like
intellectually, I know demonic consultation should not be legal in Premodern, but I really wish it was.
I mean,
it's just so fun,
It's not fun for you. I mean, I almost lost her out to demonic consultating away my deck in a pizza queue that I won. I consulted for, I don't know, Curse Scroll or something, and there was like 6 cards left in my deck, but I ended up winning the pizza queue anyway, like 9 hours later. Yeah. But that was the only time I think I had like a risky moment in my consultation.
Well, I had tons of them. I feel like, and
I mean, and we were, and Team Discovery Channel, we were consulting for Carevex Spite. Like that was our thing.
I had to win a match where I had to consult for a muscle sliver with 10 cards left in my deck. It was a sweat.
Yeah, see,
so good.
Here's the thing. Demonic Consultation, if black were actually like a viable standalone color, it would probably be pretty great, right? But the problem is if you unban Demonic Consultation in Premodern, it would just make blue dumb. And you could like your Consult Slivers deck, which was it Christian Lures who played a similar deck at Bob's
his was so bad though.
Yeah, but you built that, and oh my god, like what's the black blue sliver called?
Hibernation Sliver.
Hibernation Sliver to my hand, Force of Will was unreal. You like invented that thing, right? So
even better when you could just return your wing sliver and keep them.
Yeah, I mean, like chef's kiss, BK, right? So you made that deck, but that's not how Demonic Consultation would be used, right? It would be used to make like Tinker Fling decks better.
Yeah, and obviously. It would make all the zillion combo decks that aren't quite there in this format would suddenly all be awesome.
All right, I'm going to end this call. I'll call you right back. All right. Beautiful listeners at home, you missed half the story, but I'm just going to pretend like
you missed the best stuff.
It was great.
You turned it all the way up.
So BK asked me about the event that I won this past weekend. The context is there was a meetup on Thursday. Itai Kurtzman, who was the finalist at LobsterCon 2023, and Patrick O'Haller and Gannon, my teammates at the Hot Dog State University, were going to play in this meetup with me. And Itai's like, yo, do you have 12-12? And I was just like, 12-12 obviously being the deck that he finals LobsterCon with. I'm like, I do. And he goes, is it blue-red 12-12? And I said, yes. So he's just like any other deck. He's like, or can you make blue-white? I'm like, well, Pog has the blue-white cards, and I only own one set of Flooded Strands. So Pog was playing land still. So he's just like, oh, do you have Sly? And I'm like, yes. So he wins. I think he lost one total game. And he's just like, you have too many blasts. Like 6 blasts is too many. I didn't even side all the blasts in some of the matchups that were against blue. I had 6 blasts because I just want to beat Lanny. Like this, my goal in life is to beat Lanny. So he said, look, I think you should play the Overload. And simultaneously, Binary Soloist also just 5-0'd another league online with Overload. So I played the Overload. Long story short, I drew the Overload against Mike Harris. If it had been the Mog Salvage that it should have been, I would have won. Because it was Overload, I lost, which is freaking nonsense. Overload isn't even good in the matchups where it's supposed to be good. I lost again to Cam Fulton, yada, yada, yada. 7 hours later, I won the event. But red deck, it wins. I played it in part because Itai had just won, so I had a lot of confidence in it. I considered playing elves, but I think I only make the right play with elves like maybe 3/4 of the time, or the optimal play, right? Like I make a play that moves me forward, but not all the way forward. And he said, look, do you think red is like 70 better than 72 out of 100 of elves? I'm like, I think it's better than that. He's like, you should play red then. You just pretty much always make the right play. So that's what I did. How were your events?
My event, I ended up playing the Rock because I don't know, equity. If I do well with any other deck, it's just doing well. But if I do well with the Rock, I get to
Oh, but why don't you play like your blue green Oath of Beasts deck? I could get behind that.
It kind of wasn't. So the situation was, I was going to go to this tournament. I was going to go to this tournament. I was going to go to this tournament. There was a snowstorm, and in all week there was this crazy snowstorm in Wisconsin. So like I didn't even think I was going to go to the event, but then like Saturday morning, I was like, I don't think I'm going to go to. I woke up and I'm like, I'm staying home. I'm not going to go. It's freezing out. It's the roads are probably terrible. And then I look at, and Aaron's like, oh, I forgot my deck at home. I was totally going to play Psychotog, Dreadnought, and I'm like,
let's not talk about Aaron's deck ever again. I mean, in some sense, I actually want to recognize you as your cards were in the top 8 of that event because you had supplied Aaron and Adam's decks, right?
Yeah. I built 3 decks with my cards, and the 2 that I wasn't playing were both in the top 8.
Yeah. So, I mean, people won't remember this. They don't remember anything. I think Aaron broke the format. It's one of the best decks I've ever seen in my entire life. I never want to talk about it again so that people don't play it. It's probably already too late. There was a copy in the top 8 of the $1,000 tournament that I won. The deck is phenomenal. I mean, it's obviously not tuned, right? Like there's like a lot of things that could be better, but I mean it's just everything that I.
Oh wow, there was. This is a different Bliss though.
But it's like conceptually, you know what I mean?
Psychonaut. We're not going to talk about it though.
I was just kidding. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah. So I long story short, I drove all the way there, but then I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to play. I haven't been playing that much Premodern, to be fair, in the last like.
What are you just drafting? You do live in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I've been cubing a lot because I'm ever since CubeCon, I've been doing a lot of cubing and trying to get more in the Madison scene for that. And we've been starting to hold cubes, a cube night at Misty, so I've been playing that. So that's most of what I've been doing. And I'm and the vintage cube online. I've been doing that a lot too.
I hadn't actually looked at this deck. So Alex Kaviris. Alex Kaviris played it. This is way different than Aaron's
deck. Probably not
Kaviris. So I thought of something. Again, nobody cares. They're not going to remember this. Isn't it just auto win if we just play like 2 upheavals in our sideboard? Like our entire sideboard strategy for half the format is just 2 upheavals. Yeah. We get
just the first is awesome, right? Like
but you might get it to rest, right? Like, but I mean, I just can't imagine like if let's say you're playing against any version of Enchantress, right? Just like, all right, duress your replenish or counter your replenish, and then just counter whatever their pin card is, right? Like whether it's like Words of Wind or anything else, you just sit there, just do nothing. Right. So like, all right, how many minutes are on the clock? I'm right. All right, I'm gonna upheaval and play 2 Psychodogs. Go. Yeah, I have plenty of islands for foil, by the way. Right. Like, what can you do with 0 mana? Right. So and the thing that is insane about it, if you go upheaval in this format, is like 8 mana, you get 8 mana in play. You gush, right? That actually gives you mana 9 when you gush there. That's insane, right? Then you just upheaval at a low amount of liability. You play the Psychotog with your 9th mana, right? And then you just have like Days foil back. Like we never had this when it was Zevitog.
You can still do that though with 8 without
you can. It's just cool. It's just cool. I like the idea of you having to pick up more stuff, but I gushed, so I had to pick up less stuff. I got to pick up some stuff. Yes, you're right. You could
downside, you're upheaval deck with 18 lands.
And but what if you're only 7 mana in play? You can upheaval 12/12 real easy.
Yeah.
Like upheaval 12/12 with like Vision Charm Days. I mean, this is just clearly the deck I always wanted to play.
The other thing is, I think even with 18 lands, you actually are going to reach that.
Of course you are. Deck has like Impulse, Port, and Gush. You're going to get there easily.
This version.
I mean, look, we'll figure out the details, but it's just like the fact that nobody figured out. I mean, all right, listeners at home, upheaval in Aaron's deck seems to me like, people are afraid that like Premodern's going to be solved, right? And then like this might be the deck of no return. It's too good.
Because you beat red decks with the Dreadnoughts. Right?
Yeah, you beat red with Dreadnought. Elves and Goblins with Engineered Plague. Enchantress can't beat you if you go the Michael J. Upheaval route. It's impossible, right? Like they cannot. You just counter the pin card, and
one of the issues is your whole deck's weak to Swords of Plowshares, right?
It
like
is, but what if you just never expose your thing to Swords of Plowshares until you upheaval tog them?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we never had Days foil in the Antoine Ruel winning the Pro Tour days. Like, Days foil, eh? Right? Like, yes, I have. I'm gonna play 8 lands. I'm gonna gush upheaval or whatever. Play a land. Play my Psychotog. When you do your thing, I'm going to daze it, and then if you have a second thing, I'm going to foil it. Then I'm going to. You have 1 mana to stop my Psychotog. At this point, if you had 2 interactions, which you probably didn't, and then I'm 100% to kill you in 1 attack.
You can even duress them to make sure it's good to go.
DK. This could easily ruin the format. I mean, the fact that just nobody figured out the upheaval piece, but now they have. This might be the deck that ends the format.
Squirrel Opposition definitely took it down.
Squirrel Opposition beat Dave Kaplan in the round of 8 and Mike Harris in the round of 4. I think these orders are wrong.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So he beat Kaplan and Harris, and he beat Lanny and the Swiss. Squirrel Op.
Mm-hmm. That deck looks sweet. I was looking at that.
It is very sweet.
That's a BK deck.
It is a deck that, it is literally a BK deck because didn't you make that combo up in Urza's block with Adrian?
No, that was Mikey P who did Squirrel.
You were a control. I mean, Adrian top eight.
Control.
Adrian top eighted that Grand Prix we all went to in Nashville with Squirrel.
With Control.
With Control. Man, why did I think he was Squirrel Up? He was Control?
No, because Mikey P won that GP with Squirrel Up. Remember?
Oh, he did?
I think so.
Right. I don't remember the winner. I remember I won the Flores mirror match, even though Homero Flores was on Sneak Attack and I was on Stompy, and that was the worst matchup, right? So Stompy couldn't beat Sneak Attack. It was last round of the Swiss. Neither one of us was going to make top 8, but it was the Homero Flores versus Mike Flores mirror match. He had like the worst matchup against me, and I beat him. It was savage. I remember that.
I was so mad I couldn't go to that Grand Prix.
But didn't you win a PTQ like the first week?
No, I qualified a PTQ the first week, but I should have won.
I guess
it was a really tough PTQ too.
It was literally 25 years ago. The fact that either of us can remember any of these details is
it was at, I think, Pro Tour DC, because that was my first Pro Tour ever. It was a team Pro Tour. My team was Adrian and Mark Justice. Yeah. And
how did you get Mark Justice?
He lived in Madison, and this was when team events had just started, and I know Maher said, hey, that he was looking for a team, and we'll play with them.
Really, literally the greatest player of competitive Magic the Gathering before the Pro Tour was Mark Justice, right? So if it was like 1995 or earlier, he was winning everything.
Yeah, it's just like if out of the blue, I don't know, name the best player 10 years ago. They wanted to play PTQ, and we're the only ones who can play with them or something.
Yeah, so I mean, and Justice top 8 in the first Pro Tour with the Elkin Bottle deck.
Yeah, we played a PTQ with them and crushed it. Yeah,
and you guys made a deep run at the Pro Tour, right?
At DC?
Yeah.
No, we did terrible.
No, did terrible. Oh wow.
Yeah. Every round we weren't sure if Mark was going to show up. It was great. He would leave immediately after the round. We wouldn't see him at all until the next round. It was really funny.
Well, I'm sorry you qualified with Control. It was an important deck.
Yeah.
Oh, Adrian lost to Squirrel Op in the top 8. I think that must be where my head is getting, because they're both blue-green decks, right?
Yeah, Adrian had made Control, and I thought I don't know. I thought that was the best deck to be playing in that format. I was felt so confident about it.
No, Squirrel Op must have been the best deck, because Squirrel Op beat Control, and Control beat my Stompy deck, right? And and I was just like, well, I think I'm beating everything, but I don't beat this stupid deck that BK made. but no one else is going to be playing it. But Squirrel Op ended up winning the event. I did. I mean, I won all the tough matchups that I just didn't. I finished like day 2 somewhere, but not obviously in top 8. But Adrian top 8'd, so that was terrible that my roommate had top 8'd and I didn't. Maybe I should have played Control.
You probably should have.
Probably.
You had it.
I had it. I mean, did. I had it. I had 3 buys.
Adrian Schuler went really deep in that event too with it, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a good deck. I mean, it was one of those things like, I think much more than today, like we just get like into our pet decks. Like I had just put a lot of work into Stompy. I was just beating all the stock decks from the Pro Tour, right? Like I had a plan and I was crushing and testing, and I just wasn't beating. I was weird decks that like I would lose to, like Stompy with white, right? They had Mother of Runes or something, like. And then I beat that deck at the Grand Prix. I beat Sneak Attack, which was the toughest matchup. But like I just couldn't beat Control. I don't know. Couldn't be. I mean, I probably would have lost a Squirrel Op too. I assume I lost a Squirrel Op because I didn't top 8. I can't remember all the decks that I lost to. I just remember like the bad matchups that I won. But I was deep in day 2. I just Adrian top 8'd and I didn't.
I remember boarding in Turnabout in the Control Mirror, and it was totally sweet.
I remember figuring out that Harmonic Convergence was good against Replenish, and nobody else knew what it did. So I played against Replenish.
I think I had that in my board, I think.
Yeah, because we were all on the same team.
Yeah.
Like I figured out Harmonic Convergence. It's like, what does this do? I'm just like, all right, cast your Replenish. And then they're just like, because people, when they would hush, right? They're just like, oh, hush. And then just like replenish all your enchantments back. I'm like, this is the hush.
Yeah.
That doesn't do that, right?
You got to do... When next time you have the intel that Lanny's playing Replenish at a meetup, you gotta play something with Harmonic Convergence just to stick them.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So a beat.
So listen to this one, right? So I wanted to do well in this event, right? And so I text Lanny like last week. I'm like, are we friends or enemies in this one? I literally said, are we friends or enemies? Because my modus operandi is I just metagame against Lanny, right? Because all the road to the victory is through Lanny. So I was just like, I will 100% work with you. We'll play the same deck, whatever. So I'm like, friends or enemies. And his response was, depends if we play. So
that's enemies.
And I'm like, what? And he's just like, there's only one rule. And I'm like, what? He's like, no splits. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what do we play against each other? He's just like, if we play first round, we can draw. That's just going to be our line in the sand, that we are so confident that we draw in the first round, but there's no splits.
Classic.
So I'm
the
like,
round 1 draw is such a classic.
Like his answer was, depends if we play, no splits. So anyway, obviously we're in the top 4, and I'm looking over to this match because it's Mike Harris on Blue White Stiflenaut. Mike beat me in the first round, right? And against Greg on Squirrel Op, and I'm just like, and Landy's just like, let's just play and then just not declare damage having resolved, right? Because like the Squirrel Op deck is a buy for my red deck, right? And like the Stiflenaut deck is a buy for Landy's Gat deck, right? So like, and like Kaplan's like, don't do that. And I'm like, yes, we would definitely not do that. But he's like standing there. He's just like, do not do that. Play
no.
I'm like, we wouldn't do that. The team has no splits anyway.
Finger waving in the air.
And then, so then Lanny's just like, well, Kaplan, as you are the judge, I think that what Mike suggested is collusion. and he should be ejected from the tournament. And I'm like, funny you should say that given the matchup we have, right? He's just like, it's irrespective of the fact of an excellent matchup against me. I always metagame against Lanny. Has to be done.
Yeah.
You would metagame against Lanny if you lived here, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I played the Rock.
Why?
Because I don't know. I drove all the way there, and then I got there with like 20 minutes, and I'm like, well, better put the deck together, And,
did you play like your Mesmeric Fiend deck that you beat me with in PSS4?
No. I played Living Wish Rock.
Weren't you Living Wish then?
Oh, I was. I did have Lego Wish then.
Come on, man.
All right, but I don't have Mesmeric Fiend.
You didn't have Mesmeric Fiend plus Pernicious Deed in this one.
I wish I would have had Mesmeric Fiend because I played Dreadnought twice and I would have crushed them with Mesmeric Fiend.
So first round, I'm playing against Mike Harris. He thought I was going to be on the rock. Isn't that weird? Why would he think that?
That is weird.
And I'm like, what do you put me on? And so this is the awesome thing, right? So Kaplan gave me the list of every registered player, right? Before the tournament started, right? Like a week earlier. I'm like, oh, who's coming? Right. So he's just like, you just so I'm just like, I know what everybody plays. Yes.
Yeah.
So I put Harris on either Feb or 12-12, right? So I'm like, one of these is a really good matchup. One of these I can win, right? But the other one's a really good matchup. But this was amazing. Like in round 2, he's 1-0, right? And he's like shuffles up. His opponent looks at his hand. He's just like, oh, this hand's great. I can't beat Hermit Feb. So he threw it back. And he was on 12-12. And like, he's just like, oh my God, that was the best moment. His opponent shipped a sick hand with the rock because it couldn't beat 12-12. And like a sick hand with the rock is probably great against 12-12. You know?
Yeah.
Like a duress and a vendetta is enough, probably.
Yeah, I definitely pushed my deck too far away from beating 12-12. But I think it's still not a terrible matchup for it, even with like removing a bunch of weapons. But I lost a 12-12 twice.
Lanny claims like all the decks in the gauntlet that we have all beat 12-12. He's just like, the rock's good against 12. Like, you literally beat me in the finals of a meetup when you were on 12-12 and I was on the rock. It's like, rock's good against 12-12. He's like, goblins is good against 12-12. Elves is good against 12-12. Kaplan never loses. Like, he's always in the top 8 of every event. So every deck can't actually be good against 12-12. That's my argument.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely a worse environment for 12-12. So don't you think?
I didn't play 12-12 at LobsterCon because I thought everything could be 12-12 also.
Yeah.
But Itai never picked up a Premodern deck and he was in the finals. So
I just always feel like it's not a good choice. Maybe I'm just an idiot.
I am deathly afraid of losing to an inferior Terrageddon opponent with 12-12, which is one of the reasons that I want to play it. Like, they just play a sphere of resistance that gets through and I'm just going to lose. I really don't like that feeling. And it's like, there's not much you can do about it, right? Like, they could get a sphere of resistance relatively quickly. They're good at pinning your mana, so it's hard for you to interact with it. That's the main reason that I've been off of 12-12, because there's always like the tournament that Adam won, right? He was up against Terrageddon in the finals, right?
Yeah.
That's literally why I don't want to play 12-12. Sphere of Resistance, Mox Diamond decks.
Yeah. Every third good player in Wisconsin plays Stasis, it feels like. So that's why I wouldn't want to play 12-12.
Is Stasis excellent against 12-12?
I think so. Although Aaron should have beat it.
I feel like if I were on Aaron's deck, I would have beaten Will.
Yeah. Well, I think Aaron beat Will. He just beat himself.
He just beat himself after beating.
Yeah. I mean, so the situation at the end of the third game is Will has like 10 or 12 cards left in his deck. Maybe 10 cards left in his deck. And Aaron is in the driver's seat. Will has not developed his mana well, and it's clear that he's out of gas as far as being able to fight over anything. Aaron has a handful of counter spells, and then Aaron goes for like the killer brain freeze to mill him out. Also, Aaron has already brain freezed Will, and all 4 of Will's stasises are gone, so he can never stasis again in the match.
Oh,
right.
So.
Honestly, all.
But what was libraries at? So like, Aaron should just do nothing.
Yeah, because all he has to do is like pass the turn 10 times.
Just play his lands out so he doesn't get pinned under Vice, or just put something out of his hand. Yeah,
but there's not a Vice in play either, and it's questionable whether Will's even going to be able to resolve one with what Aaron has. And but Aaron goes for the brain freeze, figuring like, this is it. He's dead, right?
Yeah.
But Will has a Gaia's Blessing in his deck. He had one Gaia's Blessing in his sideboard, and he brought it in, and he hits the guy's blessing and reshuffles his whole deck, and Aaron just conceded after that.
I mean, but it sounds like Will had such a poor position. Maybe Aaron could have just played a natural game of Magic from there.
Yeah. I think if Aaron does nothing, but like just play lands out, it's probably over.
All right, I'm
also looking... if he just like figure out why Will's still playing, because Will has lost all his stasises.
Yeah,
and he's not going to be able to vice him out. It's very unlikely. Like if he just like tries to figure out all the reasons that Will is slowly playing. One of them is probably guys blessing in his deck. Also, Will is resolving all of his brain freezes one at a time. Every copy, 3 cards.
So you should have read him.
Yeah, I thought Will might have been. I was giving Will credit for the bluff because he's playing against a good player, and that's something I think that's a reasonable level play to make. Like just act like you have a blessing in your deck, so you're dealing 3 cards at a time on the brain freeze. But in reality, it was because there was a guy who's blessing in his deck, and he hit the blessing and got that game and won the match. Aaron also kept his Dreadnoughts in though, and I don't know. I think that's the worst card in the matchup for him. You just want to be a Psychotog Brain Freeze deck.
Yeah, but you could just like combo kill on turn 2 with Days backup. That's probably pretty great.
Sometimes. I mean, I feel like that doesn't win against the 4 Chain of Vapor deck though.
Oh well. When you put it that way,
just as many free counter spells.
It sounds to me like Chain of Vapor would trump 12/12 in that spot, and I don't like the idea of anything trumping 12/12.
That's why the matchup's so good for them.
So I'm just looking at this black blue Stifle Knot deck, not Aaron's deck. Obviously, this deck has like a boomerang and deep analysis instead of 4 counter spells. But I think there's good ideas.
4 Mox Diamond
can be got by.
Oh wait, no, this is the wrong deck.
No, I'm looking at Alex.
I'm looking at Lanny. I'm looking at Lanny's deck.
Well,
I saw the Psychotogs.
The card Hibernation seems really good to me. Like, why would you need Hibernation and Perish, right? Hibernation returns all green permanents, which it also, would it return like Oath of Druids or Survival of the Fittest, not just creatures. It seems awesome to me.
Yeah.
What if we Hibernation, then untap and cast Upheaval? Then they would have even more cards in hand. They would have so many cards in hand, BK.
Then your Hibernation didn't really do anything.
BK! I did them both. I accomplished something with my Hibernation and my Upheaval.
Sure.
So your decks, Adam Jansen, winner. Aaron Dix should have been winner. So talk to me about Adam's.
Adam shows up and he's like, I'm here because my son Trent wants to play Premodern because he's been getting into Premodern. So I thought I'd come. And their whole family plays Magic. His wife Morgan also plays Magic. Trent plays Magic now, and Trent's gotten into Premodern. So Adam came along. He's like, I built a deck, but I left it at home because I found out land tax was banned right before coming here. And I, of course, as soon as I got my eyes on being a true miser, not idiot, being the true miser, not idiot he is, seeing that there's land tax in the form, and he immediately built a land tax deck, but then found out that land tax was banned and he couldn't play it.
Well, so maybe he went to non-idiots and he saw that the banner of non-idiots is land tax. That's to confuse the idiots.
Oh.
They get very confused when they see the land tax.
He did not go to any Premodern
Facebook groups,
Premodern forum to learn about the format. He just looked at the card pool and started building decks like any.
I can respect that. That's
true player would.
Baller AF.
So I'm building my rock deck, but then I start picking up decks like, okay, well, you can play goblins, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll just play that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you will probably win the tournament with this deck. And Aaron's like, yeah, you probably will. And so yeah, he just looks through my goblins deck. He changes a few cards. He didn't want Rashadenport in his deck. He's like, I just want all the red sources I can get so that I can.
He didn't play Rashadenport?
He played one. He played one Rashadenport. He took 2 of the 3 naturalized out. He only played 1 naturalized main. He's like, I'll just draw when I need it. And Adam like just knows like really.
Maybe he's right.
One of those people who always thinks he's going to draw the best card. I don't know. He's just like really.
Maybe he's right.
Maybe, I don't know. He did draw it. He drew it in a lot of key spots. I don't know. I guess. After he had him all on the board, so he brought him in for the matchups. He didn't have Rashawn ports on his board, obviously, but every time I saw him with the Rashawn port, he wasn't using it anyway. So he wanted to play a much more aggressive version of Goblins than I would.
What do you have? Pyromancer? Is that his name?
Yeah, Goblin Pyromancer.
What does he do?
That guy.
He's not in anybody else's list but you.
He's red 3.
So he's an economical little goblin. Cast him for cheap.
Red 3 for 2/2. When Goblin Pyromancer comes into play, all goblins you control get +3/0.
So he's an overrun.
He's a
for
goblin
basically
overrun.
3, right? Because of because of discounting.
Yeah, he's basically 3. And when he has haste, like it's he's a 5 power attacker.
But then
honestly, anytime if you have War Chief in play and you play Goblin Pyromancer, you almost always win the game.
Wait. So, but then what happens? It's a persistent effect, or it's only until end of turn?
No, at the end of the turn, all goblins are killed or destroyed.
What? That's why nobody plays it, BK.
Well, you can sacrifice it to stuff.
Oh.
Also, they're just dead. They're dead anytime you cast it anyway. Also, in the mirror match, you can use as a Wrath of God.
Oh, it kills everybody's goblins. There's 2.
All the goblins.
Oh, nice.
Die. No, the card's very good. If you look at the replay of the finals match that Adam's in game 2, where he's staring down 2 Terravors and an Exalted Angel, his opponent's at 10, and he has like 4 goblins in play. If he just plays Matron and gets his Pyromancer and plays Pyromancer, his opponent's taking 16. Right, he just attack right through the Angel and kill him.
Did he do that?
He had 5 creatures. He did not do that. He didn't see that line.
Did he win anyway?
He lost that game and then he won the 3rd game. So he won 3-0.
He ran the Brian Davis. He lost the Pro Tour 5-0.
Yeah. He also played more. I only play 1 Pile Driver, as is well known. I'm thinking about going to 2 though, just because sometimes you do want to just like shoot for 2 Pile Drivers,
because you just have more sharpshooters, right?
Yeah, I have more sharpshooters. I have 2, I think. I might have 3. I have 2 or 3.
All right, so
I haven't looked at my goblin list in a while.
You want to talk shit about the Northeast? You're saying it took us a long time to pick up on goblins. Is that the thing you want
to? Yeah. Didn't it? Like, I remember like last year when you all were like really excited about like blue-white Landstill and
yeah, I love Landstill
and Parfait.
Og loves. Lanny just loves Parfait.
Yeah, and blue-white Dreadnought, and I don't know. I thought Goblins was one of the best decks on. It still is. It's just great.
I mean, we own Goblins decks, like they were in the box. Hog played Goblins at LobsterCon. Yeah,
but I feel like he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
I feel like you guys didn't really get into Goblins though until you were testing with Lanny for.
Yeah, so that is true.
CSS.
And
then you're finding, and then every time you played Goblins, you're like, oh wow, I crush every deck that you play.
Yeah, so I played Jared. It's still my Goblins deck. My in quotes is Jared Doucette's Goblins deck from PSS 5, which is not the right Goblins deck anymore. That was a Goblins deck that was built when Parfait was legal, right? So you had to probably deal with more enchantments and artifacts than you have to do right now in main deck. But so Lanny asked me to build, because he was playing Jared that week, and he's just like, I think he's going to play Goblins. Would you mind putting together his deck? And we could test, right? So I'm like, all right, let's go to a meetup. And so we played each other in the meetup, and I destroyed Lanny. But in the PSS, he had the same matchup against Jared, which was replenishing against goblins, and he got the nut draw. I beat Lanny handily with Jared's deck. So I thought it was a terrible matchup for him, but it's got the nut draw. Maybe like first turn Parallax Wave or something in the PSS top 4, which is very good in this.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely draws Replenish can get that are going to beat any creature deck.
Yeah, so it was obviously like, not first, it was like very fast. It was like Mox, Soul Land, Parallax Wave, Opalescence, and you just had the complete lockdown with protection, like on turn 2 or 3. It's just like, yeah, just like we drew it up. And actually, what we drew up was that he would play a different deck.
He chose Replenish when he wasn't supposed to?
He thought Jared was going to play a different deck. He would never have picked that deck on purpose. I mean, it's hilarious, right? So Lanny won the PSS with Groatog, beating Rich Shea in a matchup where he just never drew any of the Miracle Grow elements. He just drew a deck that was basically like blue-white 12-12. Like he just drew cards that were in blue-white 12-12. He just like drew Meddling Mage, locked Rich out, and attacked for 4 or whatever, and then just cast like 2 counter spells. It's like, he's just like, oh, this would be a perfectly good deck if you just took your Miracle Grow elements out for Dreadnoughts. Got him. Yep. Lanny loves Groatog. That's the thing that you have to understand about Lanny. He loves Groatog like I love Berg.
Why does he love Groatog so much? I mean, I think I've talked to him about this.
Before we were like all friends, right? Like he just like wanted to get, there was just a Premodern tournament in Kevin On and Don Lim's store up in Queens, and Lanny played in it and he won playing Groatog. So he has just like this emotional attachment to Groatog. And then
his first taste of success.
Yeah. So like he's just like, oh, well, this deck probably isn't good enough. And then he got onto Parfait. And when Parfait got banned, he's just like, oh, maybe it's good enough again. And then he won the PSS with it, right? So he just has like a ton of reinforcement with it.
Yeah.
So
he's spelling him out.
Yeah, but it was his first ever Premodern tournament win. Was with Groatog. And so like it's like, it's like his first girlfriend or whatever. It's never gonna go away from that perspective. And so we make a lot of fun of Lanny, but it's actually a pretty good deck, I think. It seems to be doing, it's not a
I mean, Groatog is like the most successful deck of the Misty tournaments. I feel like it's top aided like close to 100% of the times it's been played.
Yeah,
including
so like,
when 2 people brought it.
What's my pet deck? Rifter? Like that deck's just unplayable, right? Like, I love it, but I can't. It's like one of those things where I thought that it would be great in the context of like the PSS, right? Because I could control my matchups, but then it turned out I couldn't control my matchups because my Replenish deck got banned every week. So, and then my Stasis deck was unplayable.
But strangely, nobody was worried about your Rifter deck.
Yeah. So if I had chosen a third deck, a viable actual third deck, my Rifter deck might have done better, right? Like what I was really wanted was like to get Rifter against Elves and Rifter against Red, but people just didn't choose their Red deck if they had to play against me.
There wasn't. I think everybody was afraid of like Engineered Plagues or something. Nobody played Elves in that one.
No, but there wasn't a Wasteland in the just only in Aaron's Zombies deck.
Yeah. 23 decks did not have Wasteland.
Aaron had it in the Zombies deck, and then I thought Aaron had the best lineup that year. It was so, and Rich had a great lineup too.
And BK,
you had Black Parfait. you had Black Parfait, but you also had Mesmeric Deed. So they balance each other out.
Mesmeric Deed should have got me in the top 4. I was wronged by Mano.
I got one win the entire PSS4, where I finally got a beatdown deck against my Rifter deck. But it was an honor just to be asked.
2 of my losses in that were BS.
My loss to you is BS. I drew all of my planes before I drew my Eternal Dragon. I had like 11 planes in play, and I finally drew Eternal Dragon.
I don't remember it like that.
I remember like it was yesterday. It's a thorn in my soul.
It's a great match, and you can watch it on YouTube. It's about 2 hours of Rock.
It's really long,
and it's the best. I think it's the best 2 hour match ever.
The hilarious thing is, if Mike were a gentleman, he would just concede here. Mano says, and then I won the game. That was He's like, if Mike were a gentleman, he just concede.
Mm-hmm. That was so fun, though. There was so much play back and forth in that match.
Yeah, well, you were nightmaring for like multiple Ravenous Bailoffs, like looping Ravenous Bailoff and Deranged Hermit like 3 times a turn or something. But you had to do it just to stay alive, because I was like cycling.
Because you had like 2 or 3 rifts in
it was crazy.
It was good stuff.
But then I remember I lost because I got really cute with the Thawing Glaciers, which allowed you to kill my Exalted Angel for cheap, versus if I just played it at 6, I think I would have killed you. But Thawing Glaciers got me. That was not the only time Thawing Glaciers would get me in that PSS. I had the hard lock in the Enchantress matchup. When I cast an Impulse, I'm like, "Ooh, I could get Thawing Glaciers. I have 6 counterspells. Surely this is enough." Should have gotten the 7th counterspell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were the days. All right.
Yeah.
You have to go to your meeting in 4 minutes. What would you like to say to the Spike Colony listenership?
I don't know. I just realized I don't have a pet deck, and I think I need to figure out what that is.
Why don't we make Control?
I've thought about making Control, but I just don't think Albino Troll can hang.
It's like 6 mana. Like, because
Ultimate Beast kind of is Control-ish.
Well, so Albino Troll is 6 mana for a 3/3. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, because he had to have regeneration.
Yeah, if you don't have the regeneration, there's just no point in paying the 4. Mm-hmm. It's bad. I mean, it's bad. There's Lightning.
It was so good at the time, though. Right?
Yeah, but BK, there's Incinerate in this format.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it didn't survive much outside of versus Block Constructed.
It was in Big Papa Pump, Saul's deck.
Mm-hmm. But maybe he shouldn't have been.
Well, he always just named his decks after wrestlers. That was
yeah.
Do you remember? I think I went something like at least 14-0. Maybe I think I might have gone 21-0 with the Rock across like multiple tournaments. When I won this Grand Prix trial, beat Mikey P. He copied Saul's deck, and then he went to win Grand Prix of Las Vegas, and then I won the PTQ. I won like some incredible like undefeated streak with the Rock, and then Saul said, "Well, it's a green-black deck, so maybe we should change the name from the Rock to Goldberg." Because like back then, like Bill Goldberg's gimmick was that he had this undefeated streak. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was super gas. Goldberg. But I don't know. It's not known as Goldberg. It's known as The Rock, these 23 years later.
Is Goldberg still alive?
He is. He was like the WWE champion just a few years ago at age 50.
Oh.
Yeah, he still looks exactly the same as he did when he was on the streak. He looks phenomenal. But he's not like physically like, he looks really good, but he's not like physically as dominating and adept as he was obviously in 20 odd years ago. He almost killed the Undertaker in the ring, right? So he went up for his signature jackhammer, but he couldn't. So Mark Calloway, the Undertaker is still like physically a 7 foot tall man, right? So Bill hoisted him up, but he couldn't hold him in position, and he dropped him on his head. Yeah. So it's like a pretty famous botch from one of the Saudi Arabia shows. Because like I guess the Saudi prince that they do all of these Saudi Arabia shows just loves like the old wrestlers who were a big deal when he was a kid. So like Kurt Angle and Dolph Ziggler are like winning all of these events in Saudi Arabia. But the main event of this one was Bill Goldberg against The Undertaker. Mark retired a couple of years ago. So it's, maybe 3 years ago that they were in the main event of this pay-per-view in Saudi, and Bill gets Mark up and he can't hold him. He dropped him on his head. And like, you can totally see like, he's really mad, right? And like there was a whole documentary about it afterwards, and he's just like he almost died in the ring. And then Bill Goldberg was like literally the world champion. Like 5 minutes later, he won his match at WrestleMania that year, and they made him the world champion. So I mean, I don't know. I think he's technically still an active wrestler. He's just not he's not like currently under like an active contract, but he was. He was the world champion at WrestleMania 2 years ago. So
I haven't watched wrestling since the 90s.
I watch wrestling every week. But tell you what, you can just watch like recap shows like What Culture on YouTube.
Yeah.
Everything you need. All right. It sounds like you.
I got my call.
All right. Yep. Thanks for coming on to Spike Colony, BK. I loved it.
Yeah.
Being on a podcast with you is great. Okay. Bye.